first video about how a specific topic from this class was covered in my place of work is going to be about social loafing. Social loafing describes the phenomenon that occurs when individuals exert less effort when working as a group or a team than when working independently. So the current situation of my team at work is a perfect example. Due to the current epidemic and not being able to meet in person, my entire team, including myself, is not committing as much time and work as we used to. A lot of the goals and roles we defined before are no longer applicable, and we are finding it hard to stay committed and even finishing our work on time. We've already moved our deadlines by 2 weeks, and it still looks like we won't be able to hit the deadlines that we moved. I get the feeling that most of us are also depending on someone else to do the work for us. A big reason for our lack of motivation is the fact that when we actually finish the project, we won't be able to see it be used. So it won't be used for a few months until after the crisis is over. Since the project requires a lot of socializing, it requires a few workshops to be done, and going to schools and interacting with people and teaching them how to use the mobile app that we developed. So it has been really difficult for us in this point in time to stay motivated and work hard, considering we won't actually see the results of our hard work for a long time.
I am so lucky to have a job which gives me job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is a positive feeling about a job resulting from an evaluation of its characteristics. So there are a few main causes of job satisfaction, including the work conditions, personality, and corporate social responsibility. I currently work in a veterinary office, and I love the job conditions. And by that I mean I really enjoy the work that we do, and I love our mission, and I get along really well with my coworkers and my bosses. The office has lots of interdependence, feedback, interaction. We all work really well together. Our personalities mesh really well. We all believe in what we do. We feel important and we feel necessary. And we're committed to the corporate social responsibility because we all share similar values. We all want to help animals who do not have a voice. We all love animals, and we have that to bond us. Since I love my job and I feel satisfaction, I am extremely motivated to work harder and produce better quality work.
Throughout the semester, I found the goal-setting theory to be portrayed most in my workplace. So the goal-setting theory is when an individual develops an action plan that's designed to motivate or guide someone or a group of people towards a goal. So after learning about this topic, I realized that it's constantly being portrayed in my workplace. So for example, sometimes I come into work and I see a list of things that need to be done. There's times where I revise this list and make the tasks more specific. So when I've done this, I found my performance to be higher. So for example, sometimes I'm left a list that says I need to reschedule everyone that has an appointment the next day. So because of this, I revise the list and I make it more specific. So I put everyone's name and everyone's phone number that I'll be needing to reach out to. And with this, I'm able to increase my performance but also get the task done faster.
I work as a babysitter, and people have to have trust in me to take care of their child. In other words, they have to have positive expectations on how things will turn out. They look at integrity, benevolence, and ability when determining trust. To build it, I give them contacts of people I worked with in the past so they can check my knowledge and skills. Each child is different, so I work with parents to develop individual plans. This shows that I have their best interest in heart. I also allow them to use nanny cameras so they know that I'm doing what I told them that I would do.
Hey, I'm Noah. What I'm going to be talking about is from Chapter 7 on motivation, and the topic I'm choosing is job engagement. So job engagement, defined by the book, is the investment of an employee's physical, cognitive, and emotional energies into job performance. And the reason I chose this topic is because it reflects so much of my attitude and motivation for work. So I've been working in the construction industry for about two and a half years now, maybe a little bit more. And I took a real interest in it when I started. Not at first, but after a little bit, I I kind of realized like I could take a lot of these skills that I'm learning, I could use them when I own a home or in order to do stuff around my house. So because I knew the job could benefit me and the skills I learned, I started taking a role in researching and um, learning about different areas of constructions and the stuff that we would currently be doing at our work. And I would learn about the topic, bring it back to my work. My coworkers and my bosses would discuss it. I would learn more. They would realize that I've been learning more, so they might give me more specific work to do. And it was a positive feedback loop where I would learn something at work, and then I'd learn more at home, and the skills would build because of that. And that was all because I realized that what I'm learning at work could benefit me. So my personal goals lined up with the organization's goals. And that wasn't just for me. I noticed that in my coworkers too. Not every single one of them. Some of them just came to work because it was their job, make their money, they go home. But some of them I know, once they realized that they could use the skills that they've learned at work to benefit them in their own homes or friends' homes, then you saw them really kind of take a more focused view of what they were doing, and they would start asking questions and they would start connecting the pieces. So overall, I think job engagement and getting employees to really line up what they want to do with what the organization wants to do, I think that can be one of the biggest motivators in a workplace.
Hello, my name is Ervin Kobani, and I choose to talk about the diversification of culture as my first video because it is a topic that me personally have experienced it through my first years here in the US. I'm from Albania, and when I first came here in the States, and that was 7 years ago, and started my education here, I could see the difference of how a student and a professor can interact with each other in different ways, besides the only one-day exam that used to be back home. So let's say, for example, in U of M and in most likely some other universities in the States, we must do group projects, individual projects, and definitely more practice problems, etc. So that wasn't back there. So in my opinion, there is a difference in the culture of education. Thank you.
So, a personal aha moment for me during this class was when we were discussing the topic of leadership, specifically when we were discussing charismatic leaders. So, now it's more obvious to me that a charismatic leader can be a negative thing, but I didn't really realize it until we discussed it in class. So, a charismatic leader, as defined by the book, is someone who has a vision expressed as an idealized goal and someone that proposes a future better than the status quo. It is someone who is willing to take high personal risk and engage in self-sacrifice to achieve this vision. It is someone who is sensitive to their followers' needs and is perceptive of others' abilities and is responsive to their needs and feelings. So now I understand how dangerous that could be. First of all, the leaders don't necessarily have to act in the best interest of their companies. They can override the goals of the companies and act in their own personal interest. And the book also mentioned that it is more common when the leader is someone who is narcissistic, as those who are narcissistic are also higher in some behaviors associated with charismatic leadership. Overall, this topic helped me realize that I should question leadership and I should not confuse charismatic leaders with a leader who is acting in my best interest or as a leader who cares.
My aha moment occurred when we learned about the punctuated equilibrium model in the group behavior chapter. This model has two phases of life development, and they're of equal length. The first phase is characterized by inertia, and not a whole lot gets done. We're all kind of slacking at that point, and then we reach the halfway point and we move to the second phase, which is known for turbulence, since we're trying to make up for the time that we did not do anything in the first phase. So we're trying to catch up basically on the project. So the College of Business tends to have a lot of course projects and group projects. So I felt the punctuated equilibrium model was a great representation of every group project I've been a part of. You will have the rare person that tries to get stuff done ahead of time, but more often than not, in my experience, it has been mostly just trying to get the group project done when it's due, close to when it's due. So this was my aha moment because it was so applicable to my life as a student. The model is such a great representation of my group project experiences, and I was surprised to find a model that so accurately depicts stressful college group projects. It almost seems like the punctuated equilibrium model was created by a college student who dealt with procrastinating partners.
One of the most impactful moments of the class was during the beginning of the class when we learned about the MBTI chart. I found this topic to be really interesting because not only is this instrument allowing us to learn about ourselves, but also about others. So with that, it gives us the potential to learn about others, which is really helpful for building relationships, especially in the workplace. I found the chart to be interesting because it gives us the ability to see what our strengths are and what our weaknesses are and how we can develop them. When I took the MBTI quiz, I learned a lot of things about myself that I wouldn't have really known or recognized if I didn't take it. So I think it's really interesting how we're able to learn about what others like, dislike, and it can really help us with our relationships. Overall, this topic really caught my interest, and I see myself using it in my everyday life.
I have never really thought about how I judge others. It is crazy to think that a single characteristic can determine our general impression about a person. This is known as the halo effect, and has been my aha moment because I've realized that I've done this many times in the past. It is not fair to the person I'm judging. I know what to look for when I'm doing it and can hopefully commit less in the future.
All right. For my aha moment, I'm going to be talking about communication and more specifically the idea of feedback. So in the communication model, we have the sender, we have the channel, we have the receiver. You might have some noise that interferes with the message, but at the very end, you have the feedback, which goes from the receiver back to the sender and allows the sender to know whether or not the message was correctly decoded by the receiver. So this is something that happens a lot at work for me, especially in the construction industry. A lot of times I'll have my boss or another coworker explain to me something that needs to be done. But the way they go about explaining it is just horrible. They'll usually just start telling me what to do, or basically just tell me what to do, maybe make some measurements on a board or where to cut something. And I won't either have a visual of what's going on, and I'm a very visual learner, so I need to know what the end result's going to look like in order for me to piece together the sub-steps. Or they won't explain the problem to me. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a huge problem. I just need to know why we're doing what we're doing. So they'll just start, if I need them to start here, they'll start all the way over here, and I'll be lost. And I need to know, hey, why are we over here? So a lot of times it would just be moments of frustration on their end, where I told them I just didn't know what was going on. And I tried to let them know, like, I'm sorry, I just don't know what you're saying. And then they'd end up getting mad at me. And I realized that what I needed to do is I needed to provide them better feedback. So then I would usually say, okay, well, slow it down, forgive me because I don't know what's going on, but what is the problem? What are we trying to solve here? And once they realized that I didn't, have a foundation of what was going on, they would then take a step back, explain what needs to happen. Hey, we need to build a partition wall right over here. And then I'd realize, okay, now that I have a visual of what's going on, I can decode what they're trying to tell me was much easier of a time. And I found once I realized that I needed to provide better feedback to them, things went a lot smoother. So that's my aha moment.
Hello, my name is Erwin Kobani. So, a moment that was really interesting during this class and it really surprised me was the video of the experiment that we seen in the class with the prisoners and the guards. I never thought that human beings, even they knew that it was an experiment, could go that far in their bad behaviors. And on the other hand, how easily the nervous system can be broken down even if they knew what was going to happen in there. So, in my opinion, what I learned is that the human's ego can go far more than I ever expected to be. So, definitely, there was something new and very interesting that I learned and may be useful in life. Thank you.
In class, we had a really great group dynamics. We would all brainstorm. Some things that would help is that we never criticized each other. We did designate the extroverts as the group spokesman. This happened organically and worked really well for us. Overall, I would say that we encouraged and stimulated each other. There were a few hurdles that did change our group dynamics. One of them was the coronavirus. We had the best communication person to person. That, however, could not happen anymore. With the digital form, it was harder to connect everyone and we were not on the same page. Everyone sort of went their own way and it was harder to collaborate. We also had a mix-up with one of the group members, which added to the confusion. In the end, though, we were able to come together and finish the project despite these difficulties.